Hi everybody, and welcome to Three Sheets to the Mouse. My name is Bill McKim. I'm up here in the control center, and in just a couple of minutes you're going to be out there listening to an adult-themed Disney podcast with content and language that may not be suitable for younger passengers.
We're ready.
Oh, great. Well, Sherry says we're ready, so we'll see you out there on the podcast.
Good luck.
Fuck that little twig.
I know it sounds sorted, but you'll be rewarded when at last I am given my dues. And injustice deliciously squared be treated.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 59 of Three Sheets to the Mouse. We're five average guys with a love for all things Disney. But joining me this week are three guys who love 2, 5, 7, and 8. Trenton.
7? Yeah, 7.
Mikey.
Scott, do you know why 6 is afraid of 7?
Oh God. Spare me.
I'm just it's a legitimate question. I didn't do well in algebra. There's X's and Y's. As soon as math started getting the alphabet involved, I swear to God, I clocked out. When she said imaginary numbers, I was like, fuck you, bitch. 11D3 is not a number.
11D3. And Adam.
What's up, everybody?
We're here to talk to you about Disney parks, Disney booze, and a little bit of debauchery in between. So sit back, relax, grab a Guinness, and enjoy the adult side of Disney with Three Sheets to the Mouse. And I say Guinness because today, as we record, it's the day after St. Patrick's Day. So in honor of Mr. Patrick himself, I'm having a wonderful Guinness in a glass, and it's delicious. Trent, what are you drinking?
Is this Sir Patrick Stewart?
I'm actually having Guinness Extra Stout myself, Scott.
It's so delicious. It really is a good beer.
What are you having, Adam? Since you haven't chimed in.
Tea, because I'm still getting over the freaking fucking flu.
The freaking fucking. It's like the
Damn.
Swedish chef.
I'm fucking shot. My brain is not working. I all are warned. I am on cold meds. I'm on prescription cough medicine. This is gonna be a fun fucking ride.
Adam already went through the barrier test, guys. Sorry.
Adam is having a single housewife cocktail.
No, I'm having tea.
Yeah,
Single housewife cocktail would be like some Vicodin.
And vodka.
You know that there's no liquid in a
fucking
single
8-ball.
housewife cocktail. It's all pills.
that's right.
Oh, God.
Mikey, what are you drinking tonight? Back in your garage, back in
I'm
Arkansas.
back in Scott would call this a mansion, but that's mosquitoes are in here. What the fuck, man? I've got some Weller Special Reserve that I'm drinking.
Ooh, I love that.
If you can get past the first 2 drinks, then it becomes a very, very, very good bourbon.
Wait, really?
If you can get drunk, then it tastes great.
Wait, you don't really like it all that much?
The first sip, it's kind of bitey, but once you get past a little bit of bitey on the first sip, it's fine. I tell you, listen, for the price point, around $20,
Yeah.
all day long. Okay, it's just you got to get past that first bitey sip.
And I don't
once
even
you get
see-
past that, it's fine. It's good. It's great.
I don't even remember Weller's being that hard of a bite.
It's the
I don't
first
think it
one.
does have that hard of a bite.
It's the first one.
This week's show is going to be all about cars. And I wanted
Not
to
the
take not the movie. The vehicle.
Life is a highway.
Oh, geez.
Nah, dog.
wanna ride it
Nah,
all
dog.
night long.
Sorry, dog. It's a no from me.
He's not on that show anymore, is he?
No, that attraction went away a long time ago, Scott.
Which is ironic. We're talking about cars, so I wanted to first start with some of the probably the worst news Disney has had. I mean, this has been a bad week for Disney. The parking fee issue.
Yeah. I covered this a little bit last night in the live show. But it's honestly disheartening to see. A lot of stuff you can see Disney do as a money grab, and you can kind of tell, but you can kind of see it from another perspective as well. There's really no other way to see this. This is them just wanting money.
I am fully fine with Disney doing money grabs where it is a choice participation. No, a choice participation. Like
This is a choice.
No, when they had the cabanas.
The cabana's perfect example.
You could choose not to do a fucking cabana for $695.
And many did choose not
All right.
Everyone did.
All right, then I have a question before we go much further. Mm-hmm. Would you prefer them to, if they automatically just roll this increase into your night and you don't even know about it? Because people were complaining about, but people were complaining about that too. Every time the hotels get increased, they complain. Every time anything gets increased, they complain.
I understand.
You know what? And I'm going to be honest. Wait, I'm not finished.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't drive down.
Oh, it doesn't
I never
affect me at
drive
all.
down, and I'm an active DVC member.
But it's punishing people like me who live close.
Okay, and can you tell me another major resort that you don't pay a car fee for?
Right.
I mean,
here's the thing, Adam. So if
I
you
don't know if I've
stay,
driven to another major resort,
if you
honestly,
stay
so-
off property, if you stay at the Wyndham Bonnet Creek, yes, they have a $20 resort fee, but that includes your parking.
Well, but you have to be careful with Wyndham because Wyndham's not technically in a hotel. Wyndham's another timeshare.
Right. But if you stay,
So you can't count Wyndham.
all right. So the Waldorf, you stay at the Waldorf. Yes, there's a $20 fee, but the Waldorf is the same price as like the moderates. Most
No, the
most
Waldorf's
times
more than that, I thought.
Well, it's like $225 to $350 a night. It's $225. It's the Waldorf is expensive, but it's not nearly the cost of some of the deluxe resorts on property, which can run up to $600 to $700 a night.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
If you are
I'm not
charging
paying a parking fee in
$600,
April.
if you charge $600 a night, you shouldn't be gouging your guests for parking.
Have you
Cover
ever
that.
stayed at a hotel in Manhattan?
No.
Yes.
What's the price for parking in them?
I want to say it was like $20 a day.
Okay. Have you ever stayed at Dorney Park? Like maybe 20 minutes away, daily parking is $20 some odd just for the amusement park.
So I think
I mean,
the problem that
this
I
is
have,
not
The
Universal does it.
make your money. Get your money. I agree. I'm not going to be one of those. They have enough money. They have all the money in the world. But don't. This is almost a semi slap in the face, in my opinion.
It's to me. It's because they charge such a premium on every resort in the area. I mean, they
But
charge
so does
way,
Universal.
but
I
they
don't
charge
understand
way more
why
than
we holding. I don't get why Disney's not allowed to do something everybody else does. Universal, to stay at one of their hotels is extremely expensive.
And there's a reason
'Cause I
this
looked
is a
into
Disney
it.
podcast, not a Universal podcast, Adam.
No, but hear me out. But we're just picking on Disney for doing something everybody else does.
Right. You have to stand apart. That's the reason we love Disney. They stand apart from other resorts.
we
Yes,
feel,
but if you want to continue to get that kind of treatment, then you're going to have to pay for it somehow.
But here's the
You
thing.
also have people who ruin this.
You haven't done it for
By
50
wait,
years.
wait, I'm not finished. You have people who ruin this, who will park in some of these hotels, leave their car there just to use Disney transportation. Maybe that'll crack down on that a little bit.
Here's my unpopular opinion. Okay. Having spent the last 4 months in Houston, I can tell you right now, if you own a car, it costs you to park anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Even the hotels located near my apartment that I stayed at, it was like $18 a night for my sister-in-law and her family to come down just to park her car there, unless you were like a platinum level member with that hotel. Okay? So, I'm not against the parking fee. That doesn't bother me, and I'm a guy that typically drives to Disney. The only what sours my grapes about it is the fact that they have tiered it, so the more expensive your room is, the more expensive your parking place is, and that just seems like a load of cock to me, because it's a fucking parking place. Your parking place at the Grand Floridian is not going to be any nicer than your parking place at All Star Music.
Well, I
I
think
worried about my car less at Bay Lake than I did at the All Stars. I'm going to be honest.
And you know what? I think that is an unrealistic assumption. I was telling Trent, I think that's an unrealistic assumption because assholes are everywhere. If I'm an asshole, I'm going to go look for those nicer cars at Bay Lake than the Queen Family Truckster over there at All Star Movies.
And here's Mikey, I'll tell you why they did it that way. Because I think Adam's right. Part of this is to crack down on people that go there, that park at a resort, say, "Oh, I'm going to have breakfast here." Park at a resort and use Disney Transport the
You have to have an active reservation to do that, though.
Not if you go to the All Stars. If you park at the if you're staying off property, you can drive into the All Star, park your car there, and use Disney Transport for the day.
When was the last time you stayed in All Star, Scott? Because there's a guard booth, and I have to show them and scan my Magic Band when I first get there to stay there. They have to look at my reservation on my phone and scan my Magic Band.
But if you're just there to grab something to eat, they don't care. And
but
see,
you
Scott,
have to show that you have a reservation somewhere to get in, is what I'm saying. The guard stops you and says, if you don't have a reservation, you can't go in.
Well, first of all, the All Stars don't have dining reservations. Mikey, how did you do it when you went in October?
Well, the only resort that we went to, well, I guess we went to two of them. We went by Art of Animation, which technically isn't really a value, technically. But we just said, hey, we want to go in here. We're going to grab something to eat at the whatever Colors of the Wind or whatever the hell their food court is, which is really good. But that was a bold-faced lie.
Landscape of flavors.
I like Colors of the Wind better.
He just said, okay, yeah, cool, go on in. We went in, we parked, we walked around, we took pictures with, Lightning McQueen and Ramon, and then we bounced. And that's all we had to do was just say, hey, yeah, we want to come in here and do this kind of nothing kind of thing. But we weren't staying the night, and when people are going and using Disney transportation, they're not staying overnight, and this parking fee only applies to overnight guests. So that kind of debunks your whole thought about people abusing the transportation system, Scott.
I thought it would.
Oh, sorry, Adam.
That was my fault. I'll take responsibility for my shit.
Normally it's Scott that's wrong, so that's my mistake.
No, maybe maybe that's... I thought this was the only way I thought that they were going to do that and say, okay, if you don't pay to park here, if you're going to come in for a hotel reservation, like normally if you have a reservation at the Poly for Ohana, you can valet or you can self-park, and it's free to self-park, but $20 to valet. Why not? Why aren't you charging for everybody that comes through that gate now? That's my problem. Is that you're punishing the people that are on property that have driven down there, and you're hurting your own guests. If you wanted to really crack down on people that drive in the area, you start make people that park at the resorts for a breakfast or a dinner, charge them.
I have a dumb question, and I don't know. I've seen this happen in other places, but could it also be an issue of people overpacking their rooms?
With too many people, you mean?
That could be.
Yeah, like you say you have 4 people in your room and your 2 friends come over and spend the night.
Yeah, I mean, that could very well be.
I mean, it happens in a lot of resorts. It happens in a lot of hotels. That will prevent that.
I think Disney kind of prevents that in that you've got to have, media on your Magic Band to book your Fast Passes. So unless you're talking about people who live locally that are APs,
I mean, here's the thing. If you really wanted to crack down on, I don't understand why. I just don't understand why the parking fee is necessary. You're already charging a super premium for these. I can tell you what. Listen to me. You're charging a super premium for these rooms. These rooms are more expensive than anything else in the Florida area.
They're not, though.
Is that not true?
I don't know if that's true.
That's not true.
I stayed at the All Stars in October for like $80 a night.
Yeah, it's not true. You pay for what you pay for.
But that was with an AP discount now. And I think APs should be included in the free parking, personally.
Well, I would agree with you. But
you're dissuading people that live locally from coming and staying in the resorts. They'd rather just drive home.
Okay.
So you're losing money in the resorts there. Me and Stephanie will definitely look. If we have to pay for parking in November, we're going to take a long look at flying. Even though it's so close.
Or what I think it really does is say, well, that's an extra $150 for my family to come down. That's one less day I can be there. I'm now going to spend one less day there and spend one less day on food and drinks there. I honestly think this is going to hurt Disney more in the long run.
I don't.
But what
you see, this is what happens every time there's a price increase. Every time there's something somebody doesn't want to pay for, everybody throws a fit about it. everybody pays for it anyway.
But I have no problem paying for ticket prices increases. I have no problem with them keeping up with the market with room increases. I have a problem with them going and taking something that's been free since 1980 and just going, yeah, you know what? We're not going to set ourselves apart from the other resorts. We're not going to make it where, we're different and people want to stay here because, fuck it, money. And it just looks trashy.
It's still a business.
I agree.
No matter which
trashy.
way you cut it, if everybody else is doing it, Disney's going to hop on the bandwagon.
There's plenty of businesses that do shit to
if
make
you
money
ever
look
notice
trashy. I just don't use
that
them.
if you ever notice, like, all the theme parks in the area always raise their prices around the same time, there's a reason for that. It's more business savvy than you think. The other thing is, you have more people that are going to start coming down for Star Wars. If they announce this any later than they did, can you imagine the uproar then? Trying to get people not to stay on property, trying to get people out of those parks and go into some of the other parks.
Well, that's what's going to
happen. Can you imagine the uproar? They're doing this just for Star Wars.
People aren't setting it. Disney's not setting themselves apart anymore. People are going to spend days at Universal now. Hey, if we're going to have to pay
People
for parking
already
anyway,
do.
let's fuck it. Let's go to Universal.
And like I said, but people complain about any kind of price increase. People complain about any time they add in a new fee for anything.
I agree that a lot of people complained about a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be complained about, like park tickets. But I think this is different.
I don't see it as being different if everybody else is doing it. If everybody else, literally in almost every hotel in the United States, besides like your Red Roof Inns and some of the smaller ones, are now doing it. If you can tell me you can find a hotel in Philadelphia today that you're not going to pay $22 for parking for, you win.
I stayed in a Hampton Inn on the beach this week in Myrtle Beach and didn't pay a parking fee.
I said major city.
Yeah, but Adam, those
Myrtle
are
Beach
major
is the biggest
cities.
golf city in America.
Oh, but that's golf. No one likes golf. That's just a
And it's
good
a beach
walk
resort.
spoiled.
That's something totally different.
It was on the beach, and it's in the largest
Okay, then
golf town
explain
in
to me
America.
Disneyland.
But Adam,
But
let's,
then
hold
stop.
on, no,
Explain
hold
to me
on.
Disneyland. Same company.
Adam, hang on. You're talking about places like New York, Philly, Chicago, where land and parking are a premium.
Hershey.
Hershey's resort charges for parking.
Yes, they do.
That's unbelievable.
It's also why I've never gone there.
But I mean, you can't sit there and say that other places aren't.
Carowinds
Most
doesn't
of your
charge for
other
parking.
high volume vacation areas do it.
I get it. Major cities do it because parking is a premium. DC does it.
Baseball.
Well, baseball, you don't go to a hotel. I mean, you pay for parking because you have to park.
Yeah, and how much is the parking for a baseball game?
It's $25. But guess what?
For how many hours?
Well, here's the thing. When I go to a Cardinal
For
game,
how many hours?
When I go to a
Also a
Cardinal game,
premium.
I park on the street. I find a way to avoid that parking fee. When I go to the Yankee
There's a
game,
way to avoid it.
when I go to the Yankee game, I find a way to avoid that.
There's
Why would
parking
you go
at
to a
my
Yankee
my
game?
local Stingers games, but you know what? I have season tickets. They waive the parking fee, like Disney
have
should do for
DVC.
APs, like they should do
Guess
for
what?
DVC.
DVC, they do waive it for.
Well, they should do it for APs too.
Then I don't disagree with you on that one.
I mean,
I'm-
what about locals?
I agree
that
with
drive-
you with the AP and the DVC.
Look-
I believe it should be part of both.
Look at people like, and this isn't a good example because they're DVC, but look at Lauren Shoemaker's parents. They live about 45 minutes away from Disney, and they'll come and drive. They have DVC, and they live 45 minutes away. So if they didn't have
Okay.
DVC, they're never staying on property. So would you rather make the money from staying on property? Would you rather make the $300 a night because they're going to pay it? Or are you worried about that peddling $24
Honestly,
over a fucking night? It's ridiculous.
At 45 minutes away, I'm driving home.
Heard
Well,
that.
I get why they would stay because you kind of want that magic vacation away. I mean,
And they're older. They're not. They don't want to drive.
if I lived 45 minutes away, I would still spend and
I wouldn't.
Disney. I would still spend 3 or 4 nights there, and be on property because part of that
I
is
wouldn't.
getting away from your own house for 3 or 4 days.
I agree. Yeah.
Maybe twice a year would I stay on property.
If that.
If I was
If that.
that
Stay on
close
property
to
now.
it. Just because
If I was that close to it, there would be no point.
if I want it to be magic, I'll hang some fucking pixie dust on my over my door jamb so when I walk in I get sprinkled on or whatever. I mean,
Ooh, you're a pixie duster now?
if I live 45 minutes away from from fucking Disney World, I'll pixie whatever you want pixied, man.
You got a pixie
For-
me?
I mean,
45.
pixie you.
Oh my
I'll
God.
cut my hair short.
I mean, I just think that this is just a bad to me, it's a bad precedent that they're going to just be like everyone else.
And people are going to
because
pay
for the
for it.
longest time, Disney set itself apart. They were better than that. They didn't charge for their fast pass system.
You see,
Exactly
but you
what I
say
was saying.
Disney is better than that, but they're not, because if you look at the stuff that they do in California, you say Disney isn't. It's not. Disney has been charging for parking in California for overnight guests for a very long time. Disney has been charging California guests for their quote-unquote Max Pass system.
Again,
so,
it's a premium because there isn't the land. They can build a parking lot anywhere in Florida. I mean, you have no idea how much unused land is on that 40
There's no
miles.
income tax in Florida. Disney's not paying any money on that income that they're making. In California, it's like, what, 45%?
there's corporate income tax.
It's corporate income tax. That's personal
That's
income
something
tax.
totally different.
I'm sure
There's
it's
no
less than California.
personal income tax.
So look, I just feel like this is an unnecessary money grab. Like I said, this is not voluntary. You can either pay the fee or don't.
And the other thing, I'm going to say one thing, and this is what I really think they're trying to do. And this is just a little bit from a different side of this. Uber and Lyft have been known to increase traffic in every tourist area around. So if this makes more people leave their cars at home, this creates less congestion around the resort.
I mean, fair enough. Look, there's an absolute no doubt
And-
that there's more traffic in Disney World
No
over
diggity.
the last decade. No diggity.
So, I mean, so that it could be just the simple issue of trying to get people to truly leave their cars at home.
Here's
could
how I
Trying
see
to
it.
me.
If you don't want to feel like you're getting robbed over your $20 a night parking fee, then clean your shit in the room and waive mousekeeping.
Yeah.
How's
Well,
that going to change?
because then you get, I think it's what is it, like
They
5
don't,
or
they're not doing that anymore.
They're not doing that anymore
Oh, they're
because
not?
of the whole. They
They
have
weren't
to
even doing
check
it. I was
the
there in
room.
October. It stopped like the day before.
Man,
They
fuck
had to
Disney.
stop
This
because
is
of
now
that whole
Universal
new-
Studios podcast. How about that butterbeer, guys?
It's better than fucking LeFou's brew.
I hear
Well,
I
that.
didn't have an addict.
You know what? Look. Hopefully, there's some good things that come out of this parking fee, like paying their housekeeping a decent wage.
Doubt it. Absolutely not. Not going to happen.
But it definitely puts a sour note in my mouth. I mean, it absolutely does. Because
Scott, how many times have you had a car in Disney World?
the last time we were down there, we did not rent a car. We actually rented a car when we stayed at Art of Animation. And I'll say it was wonderful to have that option to drive to the parks, to quickly get to the resorts, to get to a dinner. Like if we had dinner at Ohana one night, we were able to drive right up to the Poly, park our vehicle, and then drive back home at night.
But a lot of the problems now is that a lot of that traffic is now going to Lyft. A lot of that traffic is now going to the other one. I can't. I'm
Uber.
sorry.
Uber.
I can't. Uber.
Yeah, it's
thank
German.
you.
I understand.
But I mean, put it this way: in November, I'm either going to look into, if I can't park for free, I'm going to look into flying or renting a car and just returning it to the rent-a-car place when I get there and Ubering to my hotel, because I'm not going to pay $24 a night to leave my car somewhere that I'm not even going to fucking move. And they're not fucking monitoring that shit. It's not safe. It's not like they have guards walking around. What are you paying for?
Well,
Fucking
and that's the thing
streetlights?
is like I do like having the car there. I think when we went in April last year to the boardwalk, Adam, that day we had to take the bus over to Animal Kingdom and meet you guys there. We were late because the bus was fucking late.
You were late for other reasons too. Yes, I remember you said you got a late start, and then the bus was late.
Literally, we just missed the bus for Animal Kingdom, and then it said, "Oh, in 7 minutes, the bus is coming." That turned into 11, turned into 18, it turned into 20.
You never believe that shit, man.
Yeah,
So-
if you've ever taken any kind of public transportation, you never believe the wait time.
If this increases the transportation at Disney World, which it won't, I'm fine with it.
It might.
No,
If you're getting more cars off of these major roads, it may. If this prevents people, if this takes a person to say, wait a second, maybe I don't necessarily need my car. There are other avenues I can use for the week. This might.
I can honestly say the one time we went down and stayed on property, we literally used our car twice. And that was just because we had super early dining reservations that we didn't want to be late for. Knowing what I know now, we could have taken Disney transportation and not been late for them anyway. Because when we go, if our ADR is like at 8:30, fucking we're up at 6:00 and we'll be out there waiting for a bus at 7. We don't play around when it comes to Disney. So the whole driving around thing and having the car to make it easier didn't affect my family in the least. On our first trip, the second trip we were off property, so we'd have been fucked. But if I'm staying on property, I hardly would use my car. So for that reason, this is kind of a stinger because it's just sitting there and being warehoused. Now, I think in November we're probably going to fly in, so it's going to be a non-issue. We won't have a vehicle to really worry about.
Okay, I'm just not a fan of it. And look, I gotta accept it because it is what it is. I can't.
Nobody's a fan of it because it's money out of your pocket. It's money out of your vacation. No one is a fan of this except the people that decided to make it a fact, Scott. But I mean, to me, it's just the only part about that pisses me off is that it costs more if you're staying at a more expensive resort. I mean, they make it a percentage of what the room rate is, and that just doesn't make sense to me because it's not really that much better. I mean, if it was covered, sure, I'll pay the extra $8 and have a covered spot to park my car. But I mean, it's if I'm staying by the Sasagula, I'm not getting anything unless you're staying at Fort Wilderness, in which case you get to park your car for free.
You get one car for free.
I said your car.
Animal Kingdom, I want to say, has covered parking, underground parking.
You park under the hotel.
Okay, and you know what? I get that, but anywhere else, that just doesn't make sense to me because that's when it sounds like a money grab. If it's just a thing they want to start doing, that's cool. But when they start tiering it based on how much you're spending for your room, that's where I'm like, really? I mean, it's just I'm parking my car.
Am I the only person who just thinks it looks kind of trashy?
I don't think it looks trashy. I think it's the cost of living these days. I'm sorry. I can't say it looks trashy when I see every damn hotel that I've been to do it.
Yeah, Adam's right about that. I'll keep beating this horse because it's dead and laying down, and eventually I'm going to cut its guts open and get inside because I'm cold. But why is there the increase depending on how much you're spending on the room? That makes it a money.
That I agree with. That I don't understand that. It should be a flat rate. I definitely feel that as well. It shouldn't be dependent on which hotel you're staying at. But I mean, you're also looking at people who kind of abuse the system. You're looking at people who will have maybe 4 adults in one room. Each one of them brings a car down.
And that's why my suggestion would be change it so that one room gets one spot for the stay. You get one free parking spot.
And I'm sure the backlash it'll change.
After that, then you charge $15 to $25 per day per extra car there.
I agree with that. But
I mean, here's the thing. How are they going to police this? So you check in. Okay, you go check in for your room, and then they say, did you drive here? No, I didn't. I took the Magical Express. I took Uber from the airport. Are they going to go physically and check every single car every single night for a parking pass?
What they end up doing is if they know you have a car on property, they're just going to append it to your room at the end of the week.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. How do they know?
You're going to have to get that car in there somehow.
Yeah, you say you walk in there, you go in. So, all right, so you on your first day, you drive in from South Carolina. You drive in from South Carolina, and you roll up to the front. You roll up to the security desk, and they say, "Hi, what are you here for?" "Oh, I'm having breakfast at Ohana," and you make a breakfast reservation. Okay, well, here, you can park there for valet, or you can park over there for self-park, and self-parking's free. Okay, I'll go park on my self-park. And then you walk in with your bags.
How do you get your car back to your resort?
What do you mean?
He's saying if you're staying at the Poly.
If you're staying at the Poly.
If you're staying at the Poly, they're going to scan your Magic Band to make sure you have...
That's
one of the ones where you might get away with.
You leave it there.
But I'm saying for the person who's staying at... They're going to scan your Magic Band.
If your car doesn't move, if you feel like you could take Disney property or Disney transport every single day, your car doesn't move, you park it there, the first day you get there, You say, "Oh, I'm gonna."
You don't think they're
going to
have separate lots for overnight and for? You don't think they're going to set it up separately? I do.
Then that makes it even easier. I just
How?
feel like this is a bad way for Disney to go about this. Increase your hotel prices $5 more a night. You'll make that money up.
But that's not what they're going to do. Then they're going to increase it. You're looking at $100 room. That's a 10% increase. A $200 room is another 10% increase, and people would blow their minds and lose their shit about that.
Here's the thing: if they increased hotel prices $1 per night per room across the board, they would make this money up faster than they would make parking money up.
But they're not doing it just to make the parking money up. I think they're trying to prevent the amount of cars.
I know, and
on the property. They've been actual studies that Uber and Lyft has caused a major increase in traffic in almost every metropolitan area.
I think the only way this changes is if they see a decrease in room bookings. That's the only way it changes.
No, that's not going to happen.
I don't see it happening. It's just part of the beast.
It is disheartening,
saying.
Scott. It is disappointing. Everybody's going to come to terms with it, especially the ones that drive in. And I think maybe Three Sheets Nation should just buy some land down there and set up a free, not really a free parking because you got to pay for it, but we should set up a parking and transit system in the Orlando area.
I just hope the only thing that comes out of it is better on-site transportation.
It's easier to take the Uber. What's the $5?
I agree. I mean, we're probably going to take more Uber until they get this Disney bus transport system fixed.
I mean, it's
because it was really
I'm not
really
gonna lie to you.
maddening.
We've never had that much of an issue except for when we stayed at All Stars.
well, that's where I always stay, and maybe that's the issue, Adam.
I'm not saying it to be. I'm not saying it to be mean. I mean, the last few times we've stayed by the buses, the one time we missed it was our own fault.
Now, when we stayed at the boardwalk, I mean, granted, the only bus we had to take was Magic Kingdom, and Animal Kingdom.
That's right.
But I mean, when we stayed at the boardwalk, it was shitty. The bus transportation was still shitty.
You show up at 9:20. It says the bus is going to be there at 9:34. Then it says 9:40. Then it says 9:45.
You have to stop paying attention to those boards.
Maybe you should have got there at 8:30. You could have caught it at 9.
So Disney can get every other fucking time down to the second, and they can't decide when the fucking bus is going to be there?
Because there are people in front of the bus driving.
Exactly.
Their own way.
It's traffic. You can't time that. You can't time Miss who's holding the bus up for her kids who's still running down the freaking alleyway trying to get to it, which I've seen.
Because that little bastard wouldn't get off the Pac-Man in the arcade.
Exactly.
It is pretty impressive, though, because it's 8 feet tall. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I think there's one thing that we can all agree on that I think would alleviate some of the congestion, some of the transportation problems.
A bomb.
Titties and beer.
No. Fifth gate. Fifth gate.
Yeah. That would just make it worse.
No, if you add more things to do and get people off the roads and into another park, that's 20,000 people off the roads at any given time in a park.
No, it's 20,000 more people going to Disney.
Yeah, it's 20,000 more people trying to get to a new gate.
Well, no, because the same amount of people are still going to be there. I mean, there's only X amount of people that can be on Disney property at any one time.
What about Galaxy's Edge not being connected to Hollywood Studios and being its own gate?
That should have been.
But it's a one-trick pony, and you got to be staying at the resort to enjoy it. Okay, you're talking about Galaxy's Edge, which is the added.
Star Wars.
And I'm thinking of the cosplay.
So the hotel is connected to that. So what if you had to be staying in that hotel to go to that park?
What?
No. Then that's shooting yourself in the foot.
Experience.
That's shooting yourself in the foot from a financial standpoint.
Well, show us fucking parking fees. So
yeah, it would cost you. You would cost way too much money to do what you're asking.
So look, I think Mikey's right. We have beat this dead horse. I mean, it's already on the way to the glue factory.
Oh yeah, we're getting some mucilage, and it's getting put up on the shelf in preschool, man.
But
I got my hand drawn out, and I'm making a Thanksgiving turkey.
I think, needless to say, the parking fee is very divisive.
Like I said, I understand why it's happening. Am I thrilled with it? No. Is it what they should be doing? Probably not, but I understand it. From a business standpoint, from a shareholder standpoint, I totally get it.
He's throwing the shareholder thing out.
Yep.
Fuck yeah, I am.
He's not one of us, Scott. He's drinking the Kool-Aid.
What was my poem?
When they come for us.
Oh, wait. But wait, Scott, who's now a DVC member?
I am.
Who probably won't have to
I'm
pay
still
for
fighting
this?
for the common man.
Adam, he's an attorney.
I fight
When he
Mikey?
finds an injustice, he's Matt Murdock. No, Scott's Foggy.
Mikey, I
Yeah.
fight for the people.
Yeah. Have you seen his liquor collection, The People? Who actually lived in the London?
That is. All right, so let's get on to our actual topic.
Wait, we got one of those? I thought this was just BSing because Tim wasn't here. I am not prepared for a topic.
You know, you'll be prepared, Mikey.
This better be Winnie the Pooh again.
So one of the most thrilling rides at Epcot is Test Track. We've seen a number of changes undergo this ride over the last 25 years, including the reimagineering of it to
The Tron Track.
the Tron Track, what it is today. So we wanted to take a DH.D, a Disney history, your doctorate of Disney history, and get that in Test Track and take you through, take you from October 1st, 1982, all the way to the present. So, the only one who was alive prior to 1982.
The fuck?
Yeah, Trenton can't say shit because he wasn't. I was.
I was barely alive.
I was
Okay,
rather alive.
exactly. So 4 out of the 5 of us were
I was
alive.
receiving
true.
public education. Cold trickle.
So back on October 1st of 1982, when Epcot opened, the original attraction was World of Motion. Now, Adam, you've actually ridden World of Motion.
Yes. I also ridden Horizons and most of the other attractions that aren't there anymore.
So Adam is going
Trying to say I'm fucking old, Scott?
No. So Professor Adam is going to take you on a tour of the World of
Adam.
Motion.
Now you're scaring me with the flu, Professor Adam. Here we go. I'm already sweating, and I'm sure it's the fever. All right. So, as Scott mentioned, World of Motion opened on opening day in 1982. It was an Omnimover ride. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a constantly moving kind of thing. Think of like Haunted Mansion as a Omnimover. Ride was designed with help from the legendary Ward Kimball, and it was actually the only ride he ever worked on. He was an animator. He animated things like Pinocchio and all this other stuff. Theme song for the ride was It's Fun to Be Free, and that was written by Extensio. And Extensio was also responsible for Pirate's Life for Me and Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Oh, wow.
It was also written with Buddy Barker. Yeah, it was a actual. It was a great attraction, and those who've never seen it, I do really suggest looking it up on YouTube.
You're talking like Martin's Vids is where you can find that, probably on YouTube.
Martin's Vids, there are actually a lot of videos for it. It's one of the more popular attractions that you can find old school videos of.
And that's why Disney got rid of it. Makes perfect sense.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why Disney got rid of it. One of the main reasons was that it was actually paid for by GM. And they actually signed a 10-year sponsorship deal for the attraction. So there's that. We all know they're still in bed with GM, but GM fell on hard times. I don't know. Is anybody else talking about this part?
We'll talk. Go ahead and talk about it, because I kind of talk about I barely mention why it's why we have a new attraction on it. So you can talk about it if you want to.
All right, I'll maybe mention that at the end then.
Yeah, mention at the end.
So, as for the actual attraction, it starts with a U-turn kind of situation that goes over the portico of the entrance of the building. The first scene that'll bring you to was a simple caveman cave, and you get into the actual first mode of transportation, which was foot power. Second scene presented into the earliest means of water transportation, and that was a raft. So again, nothing crazy. Next scene showed the first animal power, and that showed the control, humans starting to take control of animals, anywhere from camels to zebras. Next scene showed the invention of the wheel at Babylon. Now, this had your first kind of funny scene in it, and there were actually 3 people presenting their ideas for a wheel. One was a square, one was a triangle, and the last one was an actual circle. And after that scene, you would move into a transition to another scene where it was a wheel factory, where everything, including the Trojan horse, was trying to actually be built and sold. Next scenes were Age of Flight, and that had Leonardo da Vinci and his many attempts to fly with an upset Mona Lisa looking on over his shoulder while he's not paying attention to her.
Did you not think the
was kinda
scene with the
demanding.
cavemen with the raw feet was funny?
Yeah, but that wasn't gimmicky as much as the actual circles, the square, and the rectangle
True.
wheels.
Just those beet red feet. That are
I mean, there was a lot of comedic inputs in it.
it's like every scene has one, doesn't it?
Every scene has at least one. Following scene is a man looking over London in a hot air balloon. And then the evolution of steam was next. Here you have the Mississippi Riverboat with the never-ending stream of stagecoaches and such for the western expansion. Steam locomotive was next, and that in turn an authentic steam locomotive and an authentic railroad robbery shortly after it. The next scene was the most famous scene of the attraction, and that was the world's first traffic jam. This included items such as an upset horse, a spilling ice truck, and kids screaming during the 1900s. It is like, if you watch this thing, you have to watch this scene very carefully. It's everybody's favorite scene. It's one of the most photographed and mentioned scenes of this attraction. Guests would then travel past the open road scenes, include a man who crashed a bicycle, a family picnic, and early 40s and 50s cars. After that, there were like speed tunnels, which paid homage to the tunnels, and then Magic Kingdom, If You Had Wings. That was another attraction that I don't think anybody but me went on.
Had wings, had wings.
Did you go on it, Scott?
No, but I've watched a lot of the videos on it because it was pretty cool.
Some of the scenes through the tunnels were crop dusting, rafting, and traveling down a snowmobile trail. And that pretty much concluded the main part of the attraction. The tunnels led to the final exhibit called Center Core, which was the amazing city of the future.
Now this was that open. That was like this open air, like almost like a 3-story.
Yes.
Like diorama, right?
Almost, yes. And then it also kind of used the Pepper's Ghost kind of thing, not the Pepper's Ghost, but it kind of, I don't think it was Pepper's Ghost. I don't remember. I had good notes, and they're all like kind of jumbled right now. But it kind of simulated the track in the car, and you could see there was a mirrored section where you could see your car changing into different things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess that would be Pepper's
It's sort
Ghost.
of like the test track now, when you're in that wind tunnel nonsense.
Oh, the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
That doesn't have any wind, really.
Yeah. Or even the stripe that you magically see. But
Why
we
can't they
won't
just
get
put
into
that
Is
in
that
there?
right? So
We should Imagineer this sometime and fix it. And
Maybe
then
we
they
could.
will because they listen. I'm sorry, carry on. Partysaurus Rex.
it's my new job.
Yeah.
Apparently.
That was creepy. That was totally creepy.
They're not even trying to pretend like they don't listen anymore.
Yeah, give it up. We know. Okay, as you exit the vehicle, you're left in the Trans Center. And this was sort of like a mini innovations area. And it showed about transportation and things surrounding transportation. So it offered educational attractions. including prototype cars, a few shows like the Water Engine, which pitted 9 animated characters associated with various and alternate fuel systems into a debate over which motor design should be used for powering cars, like solar, water, steam, all the and combustion that we have now. There was also a replica of America's only wind tunnel on display. There was also another show called The Bird and the Robot, which I don't remember at all. And there's basically animals talking about bad jokes and something about the GM assembly line. I tried to find a video of this and couldn't find one in time. A computer-generated display showed GM's car torture tests without actually doing the torture test, which I didn't understand. And the most popular part of this was also the Concept 2000, and this showcased a lot of the up-and-coming prototypes for the cars. After the second time the contract was renewed with GM, that's when the trouble started hitting. The traction started falling on disrepair just like everything else, and GM actually went to a year-to-year contract. And in order to sign a newer contract, they wanted Disney to update the ride. And I don't know who has next.
Oh, that's me. So Adam's right. GM in the early 90s, 92, 93, GM was going through a really, really hard time. There was corporate layoffs across the board. Many of the plants were closing. In fact, one of the GM plants, the Chrysler plant in St. Louis, closed about this time, and it shuttered almost 3,000 jobs in the area. So they wanted to keep Disney as a partnership because they'd been a partner going, as far back as when Disney World opened. And so one of the things I said is, well, if we're going to do a new contract, if we're going to sign a new agreement, we have to have a new ride. We need to have something that showcases our cars as part of the ride. And so in 1993, Imagineers began visiting the Milford Testing Center in Milford, Michigan, and went to the proving grounds and decided, you know what, let's make an attraction based on the test track. Let's make it an attraction based on the proving grounds. So what they did was they shut down the ride, World of Motion, on January 2nd, 1996, and in February of 96 began construction. The entire 3-story building was gutted, and what ended up happening was they ended up laying 5,496 feet of track. It's the longest ride on Disney property. They cut 2 openings.
So the one funny fact that we missed is that World of Motion originally had plans for an outside track on the outside of the building that they scrapped before it was built.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into stuff that wasn't there.
No,
there were a lot of different plans. That's all of Epcot. When you look at all of Epcot before it was built to what it actually turned out being, it's totally different. I mean, the biggest one I think was, oh God, why can't I think? The sea.
Oh,
if we got this, yeah, but if you saw the actual plans for the seas, it's totally different than what we ended up with.
Test Track is the longest actual track system. It's the longest ride.
Okay.
The Kilimanjaro Safaris is longer, but it's not an actual track. It's sort of like a pathway that they follow. So, but yes, I mean, Kilimanjaro is huge. So Trenton made a great point. They originally had plans to have the World of Motion go outside and have these areas where people could see the cars, but one of the reasons that was originally scrapped was Florida weather. So naturally, no good idea Disney ever dies, and they decided to bring the track outside so that you could simulate the high speeds that a car travels. Now, originally, this track was supposed to, or this ride was supposed to go 95 miles an hour.
Holy
on
shit! Bring that
back. On the banked curves and the straightaways, but safety reasons, the fact that a car in the state of Florida can only be driven legally 65 miles an hour, they decided, yeah, we don't really want to help people feel like they can go faster in a normal car and facilitate speeding, so let's dial it down to 65. Also, if you were to e-stop, emergency stop a car at 95 miles an hour on those bank turns, it would generate tremendous G-forces. So they decided, no, we'll dial it down to 65, and that's where that finished at. But the construction of Test Track, well, is problematic to say the least. So the ride...
Yeah, but we got Horizons opened when it went down.
That's true. That's true, we did. Horizons reopened for a special 18-month reopening because Test Track had some absolutely splendid problems. Originally, this was supposed to open by May of 1997, so keep that in mind as we go through. February 1996, the construction begins. They put up this huge 300-foot wide mural that basically spanned across the entire front of it, so you couldn't see the construction going on. And behind that, what they did was they basically took the small outdoor portion of World of Motion and turned that into the queue. They relayed a 3-story track where you'll go through that 3-story lift hill at first, which takes you all the way up to the 3rd floor, and then they laid all of this track, these almost a full mile of track inside this building. So the construction alone was going to take 18 months. But the first problem was that they could not get this computer system to handle all 29 cars at once. Essentially, the computer system would crash at 6. And they spent almost 12 months redesigning the computer system one by one, adding one car at a time. And that delayed that well beyond the original open. The second problem was that these are vehicles. They have actual tires. And what it turned out was the regular tires, they were trying to use just regular Goodyear tires, and they were blowing out after 14 laps around the track. Now one of these cars is supposed to go around the track 140 times a day. So you can imagine how many actual tires they would have had to use in order to keep this ride up and running. So what they did was they worked with Goodyear to design a special slick tire, essentially keeping very little tread on it, so the tread wasn't actually providing the grip and the traction for the ride. And they put in this bus bar, which is like a slot car racing bar with 18 more wheels on that, which actually powers and moves the car. While your tires move, they're not actually gripping the surface. They're not actually supporting all of the weight. It's that bus bar underneath, and that's why now the tires last approximately 30 to 35 days before they have to be replaced. Now the mural had an opening date, said opening spring of 97, and that turned into spring of 98. And then eventually, when the 98 deadline got missed, they just said, you know what, fuck it, we're just going to put opening soon. So this mural now says opening soon. It's December of 98, and the ride is finally ready. The mural gets removed. Smaller signs are put up. A whole display of cars was put in the grand lobby. And finally, in March of 1999, the ride was open to the public with the help of the legendary Richard Petty. And then, of course, because cars and women go together like, peanut butter and jelly, Christy Brinkley, Angie Everhart, Carol Alt, and Frederique, supermodels, were all on hand for the opening ceremonies.
Carry on, Scott. But Christy Brinkley has a background in driving high-speed motor vehicles because she did blow away Chevy Chase with her Ferrari in National Lampoon's Vacation.
That is true, she did.
I'm just getting some fish for you and Mom and and Russ.
So the ride as it opened, it was an entirely different ride than what World of Motion was. This is a high speed thrill coaster. The original entrance for World of Motion and that open air lift hill that World of Motion would go through is now the interior queue. So here guests would walk through different test areas showing how cars are tested at the GM Proving Grounds. Everything from emissions, engines, soundproofing, to crash testing. The Imagineers combined actual props, physical props of cars and the test going on with educational video boards that would show the test at the GM facility and show how these tests actually impacted the car that you drive on the road.
Now make sure we mention, Scott, the sounds that you're hearing in the queue here, because this is a big part of it, in my opinion.
Certainly I'm going to drop in some of the sounds for the queue, because the queue music was wonderful. It was this.
I don't remember there being music. I remember it just being a bunch of smashing sounds.
Oh no! Everything. All the noises actually went to the music.
Yeah, the music was amazing because it was this like gearhead type synthesizer music, but it was so well timed that when you go through this and they have crash test dummies showing how that the impacts on the crash test bodies, they would test that first to get a baseline. Every time one of these hit was in time with the music that it was supposed to go into.
See, I was very young when I wrote. I mean, not very young, but I was. This closed in what 2012 was when it changed over. So
2012.
I mean, I was younger, so I remember
he
just
was 10.
being.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you were obviously younger than you are now. Back in 2012,
I just remember there being just hearing the fucking crashing sounds the entire time, and it being monotonous as fuck.
Well, that's because in the soundtrack there are tires squealing, there are crashes in the sound, because that soundtrack was made to play along with the actual cue. Okay. It wasn't just background music.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering. Okay.
No, you certainly would have, but you were also seeing, and this is probably the most disturbing one, the arm with the head on a spring, and it would crash into a bar, and the head would like snap back. It was very disturbing.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
Or there was like a battering ram that would go into the chest of the crash test dummies to measure the force of impact on a person's chest, because that's what these crash tests do.
And let's not forget the crash test dummies had their own Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah, the crash test dummies.
And a song.
Well, there was an entire band where they talked about that boy who went to Singapore and got caned.
Mm-hmm.
Bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing, bing.
The soundproof room was pretty amazing, and it wasn't like, so you walk into this area and there's like a small room with these cones on the walls, and they're not made out of foam, they're just made out of plastic. And as you go in there, the entire like cue music and the crashing is almost non-existent. And it's just the way these cones were set up. It was pretty cool.
Now, is this part of the queue or part of the ride?
No, part of the queue.
For the queue.
Okay. I was going to say, if it's part of the ride, then they would just shut down the audio. And they probably played that up. I would think they played that up a little bit in that room.
Yeah, I don't think it was an actual soundproofed room.
No, it wasn't soundproof, but there was an entrance into this room, and it was like a switchback. You would walk into this room through an open doorway and then walk out of it through another open doorway. So you would have open doorways that should let sound in, but the way these cones were set up on the walls, it dampened the sound.
Love is an open doorway.
I don't remember. This was probably when I was younger, this was probably the most boring part of the queue, so I didn't pay attention to it, to be honest.
And I gotta say, what the hell does it have to do with? I mean, I know soundproofing cars, but they don't actually use that type of setup. I don't think to soundproof.
No, but I'm not sure what it was designed to do, but it was basically designed to show how they test soundproofing in cars, because prior to the 30s, 40s, 50s, when you get non-soundproof cars, that engine sounded pretty bad.
This is probably just that.
Yeah, I was all about the smashing of things though when I was younger.
It's the one spot in the line where a mom could look at her kid and say, "Listen, you little shit, I need you to straighten up, or I'm going to beat your ass when we get off this car."
Yeah.
See that crash test dummy? That's going to be you when we get back to the resort. Fucking charge me $20 to stay and park my car.
But the great thing about this queue was it was not only entertaining. It was educational. It showed how the testing was actually done. So, good on Disney for keeping the edutainment part of Epcot.
I wish I would have gotten a chance to see this part of the queue, actually.
Oh, Mikey, you would have gone nuts with it. You would have absolutely.
You would have
This
really
kind of
enjoyed
reminds
it.
me a little bit of like the dinosaur queue, because I think you got a little bit of knowledge being dropped during that queue as you pass through it.
built at the same time.
But you see, the thing is with this queue, though, is that it was bright. It was eye-catching. There was something to look at. There was stuff to read. It wasn't what it is now by any stretch of the imagination. And if you were any kind of curious as to what went on, I remember the seat that they had, like, folding and unfolding. They had so much stuff to look at.
I really wish I could have seen this queue, because everything you're describing is what I wish the queue now was.
They even had a series of tests that's showing how long fabric would last if a butt was screaming on the seat.
Yes, because they had the little butt print looking thing bouncing up and down on it.
Absolutely.
Why'd they get rid of this stuff?
I
guess
don't
Trenton's
know.
going to tell us all that.
I will.
But as you go through the queue, guests would load into one of three briefing rooms where a pre-show video hosted by Sherry and Bill McKim.
Wait, there's a Sherry?
Sherry was the girl.
Oh, Sherry.
I can't find out who she was. I don't know if she was an actress.
Because I only know the Bill guy. I've never known there was a Sherry before.
Yeah, Sherry helps design the test. But
we
Bill
did.
McKim is the most famous one. That's John Michael Higgins. He's been in a number of Disney things, ABC TV shows. He's much more famous than Sherry was. So so you go through this and they show you all the tests that you're going to do, and then you go out and you load into the load and unload area. And this is where you get the first glimpse of the vehicles. The vehicles, as I said earlier, have 4 wheels that you can see, but another 18 underneath on the bus bar. And that actually provides the electric power to the car and then guides it along the track as well. These cars were modeled after the 1996 Pontiac Grand Prix. The body kind of shape and chassis were all taken from that.
Everyone's dream car.
Oh, well, in 1996 it was.
My mom had one.
It was like
wrecked
it was GM's answer to the Ford Probe.
The Ford what?
No,
Ford Probe.
because the Ford Probe was it wanted to look like a sports car on the outside, but in reality, it was. I think the Ford Probe was Ford's answer to the Geostorm.
I'm not sure I've ever seen one of those. Is that a real car?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it's a real
Oh,
car.
in the 80s it was big, man.
Oh man, I don't know that Geostorm was where it was at, brother.
I don't know, man. I had a Ford Probe in 1990.
I bet you did.
7.
I had a Chevrolet Celebrity from the 80s. Eurosport edition.
So as you get into the car, there's a little video screen on the front and back portions of the vehicle. They ride six passengers per vehicle. This was also the first ride to have a single rider line. This was the very first time that Disney introduced the single rider line because, I mean, quite honestly, if you've got a mom, dad, and 3 kids, that's 5. So where's that 6 coming from? A single rider line. So the first part is as you go up this lift hill, it's a 15-degree grade, and you essentially ramp up at that at a max of 40 miles an hour at one point. So you get some good speed on that going up a hill, and it creates a lot of G-forces. And that's to simulate the testing of high inclines on an engine, on how it's got to rev up the engine. So as you go past that, you then go to the suspension testing portion of it, where the vehicle goes over German Belgian blocks and cobblestones, and it sort of simulates the twisting of the shocks and the struts, and then they tell you how well your car did, and then you go into the braking portion. This is actually pretty cool. So you start off, you go down a straightaway, and then your ABS brakes are turned off, and I turn them off in air quotes because there's not actually anti-lock brakes on this car. There is special brakes designed for this car. Normally, our cars have 2 braking systems, front and rear. This had 6 sets of brakes to make sure that you could stop these vehicles in time if there was ever a E-shut. So you go through the braking systems. The first is without your anti-lock brakes, and you kind of slide through this turn and you crash into some cones. And it simulates what happens if your brakes locked up and you can't actually stop your car and make the turn. The second one, they turn them on and you slow down through the curve and you actually take the turn where you are then taken into the environmental testings. And these were the coolest part of the ride.
Literally.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Dad joke of the day. Thank you, Tim Elving Sr.
You start off by going in a cold chamber at 40 degrees. Then to the heat chamber where these heat lamps would get up to 140 degrees. So changing the temperature of the ride 100 degrees. It was really awesome. And then finally, you go through the section where the robots weren't turned off and they were spraying salt water onto the cars to test the corrosion of the metal and the paints. You know, one thing I saw that I never really noticed before, but when this ride first opened, those robots were very agile. Like, they could move. Mm-hmm. And then slowly, with disrepair, they eventually shut them down. By the time the ride closed, they didn't move at all.
Sort of like the Disco Yeti,
Yep.
except they didn't use flashing
Yeah,
lights.
exactly.
Sort of like everything from the great movie Ride.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Then you would go into the handling portion where you would climb a series of hills and curves, kind of simulating the traction, the handling of a car as it goes through these hills. You would actually increase speed as you got along. So you would start at around 20 miles an hour and you'd get up to 40 miles an hour when you got to the very top of the hill. It's pretty cool. Finally, that handling would culminate in the collision of an oncoming truck. Your car would be riding down the track, and all of a sudden a truck would appear out of nowhere, and then you would have to swerve to avoid it. Now, originally, the truck worked perfectly fine. It would come out a little bit, and a pyrotechnic display would actually shoot out from the side of the car to simulate the squealing of the brakes and stuff. But that went away also really quick.
Yeah, brakes don't really do that when you...
Well, I know, but it's for effect.
Uh-huh.
And then the last test was the barrier test. So the barrier test, originally when this ride opened, it actually had a car that would come out of the side to the left of you and actually crash into a wall and crumple. And then it would reset and go back and ready for the next car. Now, eventually, I guess they didn't really feel like keeping that up to, in repair. So they just put the crash car up against the wall so you would see what you were doing. And your car would stop and then accelerate. And as you approach the barrier, the doors would open and you'd be out onto the flat of the track and you would see the open sunshine. And that's where originally that's where your picture was taken when you were going through that barrier.
Yeah, you'd be momentarily blinded.
Yes. So
nothing says family vacation like dilated pupils.
So as you go through that, you then drop down about 10 feet to a track where your car accelerates through a 250 brake horsepower engine to a banked curve. You go around this curve, which then has a number of GM vehicles in the well below. You go around this curve and then head onto one more straightaway before you get back to the building, and then take a bank turn around the building full of those mirrored windows for almost a 360 degree curve around the actual building, and then finally back into the unload and exit area. And from there, you would be taken into a kind of a display of different cars, GM's current lineup of cars, where you could sit inside, get a photo with them, take pictures, and just check out the cars, even purchase a lease.
Yeah, you talk to those motherfuckers, and they will send you emails forever.
Yes,
by the
they
way.
will.
Yeah. Every fucking day.
So, that was the original test track.
Cool. So, so really, that was, I think we can all agree, the best version of this ride.
I miss World of Motion.
Oh, Trenton.
Sorry.
Come on, man. You got to forget who you're dealing with here.
The guy that calls it
Sorry,
MGM in Downtown Disney.
Yep, I'm going to.
And see,
I
I've
mean,
never even seen World of Motion, but knowing that it was an Omnimover, I'm like, I am a sucker for an Omnimover ride. I love them. I just like, oh my gosh, this sounds like it would be basically like Spaceship Earth, but more current.
Yeah.
Like, it almost picks up where Spaceship Earth left off with like, you know, toward the end of all those animatronics. So
Exactly.
I really
it was
think-
Spaceship Earth with
Vehicles.
motion. I mean,
Yeah,
essentially.
and,
if you, watch
and you know what?
videos of it,
I would dig on that. So yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I just think that
well,
that version that's
there's another reason. This ride is still now was for notoriously broken down almost at least 3 or 4 times.
well,
a
if
day
it
at
rains,
one
it
point.
can't. Be
Well,
on.
here's the other thing.
And that's the other
It's not
thing.
just rain. So if there is rain, yes, they have to close down the ride because it goes outside. There's actually a computer sensor on the top of the building. If lightning is detected within a 5-mile radius, they have to shut this down.
I mean, this ride is always closed. This is
Yeah, it is because it's problematic.
Which, in speaking of which, before I start my spiel on the new test track, the last time we were in Disney, we had a fast pass for this ride, and we couldn't do it because of the lightning. But then we still couldn't go do Frozen. Don't make this the same tier ride as Frozen if I can't go fucking do Frozen on the same fast pass, you assholes.
they didn't release it to you to do
Nope.
it, or could
It
you
was
not get a
it was
fast pass
every
for
ride
it?
except for Frozen.
Oh, that's fucked
I even
up.
went to Frozen. I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I couldn't." And they were like, "Nah, still can't do it." Like they weren't even like the schmooze and like, "Oh yeah, just go anyway." It was like, "Nah, it says right here, bro, can't do Frozen." It's like, cool. So I'm glad I wasted a fast pass on test track that I couldn't do, and then still couldn't do the other ride on the same tier.
That's fucked up. My fucking voice.
Pretty fucking lame.
Excuse me.
So anyway, after Scott's version, which I think is the best version, and Scott does, and
I'll agree with you there.
Adam does
Absolute
not.
best version.
On January 6th, 2012, is when Disney they announced their plans to renovate Test Track from the version that Scott just talked about to a new, more modern design of the ride. During the second and third quarters of the year, they were going to do the construction, and it was going to reopen in the fall of 2012 was the original idea. I think it reopened at the beginning of December after that. Same cars, new skins. The queue was different now. I mean, a lot of us, anybody listening's probably been on the new version of Test Track. It went from GM to Chevrolet. They were the new sponsor of the ride. And it became it's essentially the same ride with a fucking Tron overlay, which is fine. It's not terrible. You go into the queue, and it's like Chevy's Design Studios. You walk past some prototype cars, or concept cars, rather. You know, there's little interactive things you can do in the queue. The music is better, in my opinion. It's not, you're not listening to fucking cars smash into each other.
It's much more mellow and elevator music.
Yeah.
The exploded parts view of like that little bitty smart car is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know
It's
what?
all
Oh, you
made
mean
of
the
plastic,
Segway?
but it looks cool.
What the queue? What this reminds me of? What the queue reminds me of is, and I don't know how many people have played the video game Forza. It reminds me of this because you could go and look at, like, explode the car, and you could look at and see all the parts of it and see what makes the car, like how Jaguar makes their cars, and you can see how Bentley makes
Jaguar.
theirs, and all of these. Well, Jaguar is Ford, or Mercedes. No, BMW now.
I was just laughing at the way you said Jaguar.
He did say it like that.
Well, that's how it's.
Yeah.
It is a Jaguar.
Is it?
mean, I say
Because
Jaguar,
I have never
but-
once seen the Jaguar in the wilds of the.
No, neither
Well,
have
that's
I.
because the car is a Jaguar.
Is that a Jaguar that's on your hat, Scott?
That's a Puma.
You pretty sure it's not a Jaguar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was Puma.
Are you sure it's not a chupacabra? It looks like a chupacabra. A chupa thingy?
No, it's the Puma. No, it's the car's version of the Puma is the Puma.
Whatever.
You're real breathy with it.
I used to drive a Jaguar. You know what I call it? I call it the Dragwar because here in the South we put a 350 small block into it.
Jesus Christ.
You know what? Ben Madden will back me up on that because he backed me up on the buddies.
You know, Ben Madden doesn't count because thank you, Ben Madden, for being
Yeah,
a
but he
loyal
called you
Three
out on
Sheets
your
listener
beer.
and a member of
Wait
Three
a
Sheets
second.
Nation, but
Ben Madden called you out on one of those beers.
Wait, what?
He said one of your beers was
and
shit.
I replied why I liked it so much because it was 2 pounds for 2 pints. Yeah, it is shit.
but
It's
it was
Coors
still
Light.
shit.
yeah, well, you know, if you measure shit in liters and meters, you know, be gone with you.
This is kind of like the shit in one hand and anyway.
Have a crumpet.
I would say the biggest change to the ride is probably the queue, right? So the queue is
Yeah.
drastically different, and then the one major change is that you get to design your test track
Which has
car.
nothing to do with the actual ride itself.
Which it doesn't.
It-
in the
Well,
big
it kind of does. It makes the ride more.
It kind of does.
it makes it more
engaging.
competitive. It makes it engaging. You're right, Mikey. You know, it's got 4 different categories for your car, which are going to be capability, efficiency, responsiveness, and power. My big tip to the listener here is that if you want to, instead of having what is it, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to design your car, you can go into the exit of the ride through the gift shop before you ride the ride and design your car with the unlimited amount of time. So you can design your car as long as you want before you go on the ride and save it to your Magic Band and not even have to do anything in that room.
You know, you just saved me ever going on this ride again, because that's Tim's favorite part of the attraction, is just
Yeah.
making the car.
Seriously, go with the exit. There's little kiosks. You can design your car for fucking 15
Trent and I,
minutes if you want to.
I talked about this over the weekend. What Andrew and I will do is Andrew will go on the ride and she'll do her thing, and I'll wait in the exit queue with Ethan and design my vehicle with Ethan, so Ethan gets to help me out. And then when she's done, I go on the fast pass line.
Yeah.
See, I don't bother with this.
I still
attraction
like
anymore.
it. I still like it because it's cars and it's fast.
Do you like Soarin' better?
I find the line to be it's okay. Everybody's gonna yell. We made one fast pass for our trip coming up in May. That's it.
You got one flight of passage. That's
Oh.
it.
We didn't even do flight passage.
Peter Pan.
We just got our Soarin'.
Fuck.
You're gonna go no fast pass?
Well, at Trenton,
We're going no
Tim's a
fast
pretty
pass.
big
I want to
Soarin'
check it
fan.
out.
I know. That was
We're
the one
doing-
thing that me and
and the
Tim and
only
Adam
reason
had
why
to do when
we
we were there in
did-
October is going fucking Soarin' as the park was closing, and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you going to the park right now?
But for me, Soarin', it means a lot. It's always our first ride, so that's the only fast
Have you ever
pass
done
I
the
go.
Frozen ride?
Yes.
So okay, this is not our topic, but so Soarin' is like it means
Yeah, we don't
your
have a fast
nostalgic
pass,
thing,
I'm sorry.
but it has nothing to do with
That's
the
a
current.
fast pass.
It doesn't have anything to do with the current film experience of Soarin' so much as just getting in that queue and sitting in that seat.
No, yeah, it's just the ride. It's the attraction.
Okay.
It's nostalgia.
I mean, you asked to wait so you could have center
Yeah,
top
we do.
row. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
We usually do.
Yeah, you got to. So that's the major change to the ride, I would say. I mean, the theming is completely different, but that's the one big thing is you get to design your car and compete against the other riders in the car with you.
In your vehicle.
Right, which is fun. I think it's
Well,
fun.
and-
When it works.
But here's the thing.
When it works.
Doing it this way, Trenton, going to the exit queue, is where you get to put on all those accessories to help you get that top score. Because honestly, by the time you're done with the face, paint, and wheels, and the basic components of the car, you're out of time.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And that's why I do the exit queue design, because, I mean, I'm a little competitive.
It is fun. It is
You guys probably
fun
know
to
that.
see see where you stack up against the other people in your car. It is kind of fun. It's not the most pointless. It's not the
yeah.
most pointless interactive queue ever. That's reserved for Space Mountain.
That's interactive.
No, I like Space Mountain.
Speaking of Space Mountain, that's one that I don't go on, Adam. I don't even care about that. Anyway, so you get on the ride, and it's very similar to, I mean, it's literally the exact same track as the original test track that Scott just described. The lights are off. There's many more neon and, fluorescent lights that are lighting up the track.
Everything.
You go up the main
everything
hill.
is the Tron grid. Let's just put it that way.
It is, and I hate describing it that way, but he's kind of right. The capability test is first.
Done better.
Yes.
With the rain and the lightning, you take a sharp left turn. You're going down, and it's raining, and it is testing. It's testing your capability. So then you actually pass that futuristic city, which I never understood that part of the ride.
It's just we're
Why
in
is
the
it doing
future, so there's got to be a futuristic city.
Yeah, I guess. So you pass that, and then you see the little TV screen that previously was the doctor or the scientist from Test Track talking to you, which is now showing your car's results for each test from your car design. The sim car, then you go to the efficiency test, and this is going to be your eco-efficiency, whatever. It's the aerodynamic test. Now, this is the part that replaced the hot and cold portions?
Yeah, the
or
hot,
is that
cold, and corrosion chambers.
Yes, so now you look over and you can see the airflow over your car. There's no real rhyme or reason to this part of the ride, which I think is weird, which is why the original Test Track is better than this part. But
does anybody else try to put their hand up hoping that it'll catch your hand and peek it over, and it never does? It just doesn't.
I've never done
peek
that.
it over or
I've never
break the
thought to do
flow.
that.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I've done it.
You've got this set up. It can't be that much more difficult to take the same technology from freaking Haunted Mansion, incorporate it here, and just motion track your stream of bullshit over my hand when I lift it up.
I agree.
okay?
Your stream of bullshit.
That is so simple, but it would add a lot to the
Mikey,
ride. if
totally.
you could
Why
do that.
can't they do that?
Yeah, I've never tried that.
Well, don't,
I'm going
because
to.
it doesn't work.
Nothing happens.
Save your energy,
Yeah,
Trenton, for drinking margaritas.
Which is another reason. The hot and cold rooms were always funny. I think. When you had, 400 of those fucking heat lamps that they put on your food at McDonald's pointing right towards you. It's like, oh, it's hot in here. Fuck.
But then you go in the cold room, and so it's nice and cold.
Ooh, cold. So then you go to...
You want the flu? Because that's how you get the flu.
Yeah. You go to the responsiveness test next, which is you're doing the hairpin turns going up the mountainside, much like the previous Test Track, and then you still encounter the same 18-wheeler that you did in the previous version after you come out, which still scares the shit out of
Except
Stephanie.
now it's got Tron lights on it.
And it definitely doesn't move.
Oh, it doesn't move at all. It didn't move before.
It's disco yet.
It did at the beginning. It used to come out when the attraction first opened. It came out.
I don't remember that. Then again, I mean, you're probably right. It does honk really loud and scares the fuck out of you, which Stephanie gets scared every time. Now, the final test is the power test, which is the same test as the barrier test in the previous ride. You see the same roll-up door that said barrier test previously, which it doesn't say that anymore. I don't know what it says.
It's
on
got
the
the
door
power.
now.
It's got that purple lightning bolt logo.
Oh,
it doesn't say anything. It's just a.
It's the
static
power.
image.
It's the power logo
So-
from like each of these features of your car that you're testing. You're getting scored on has their own little logo. Like the Eco is a green leaf, of course.
Oh, right. It's the purple lightning bolt, which is the power. So you go towards that, and it's literally the same scene without the crashed cars next to it. And you speed towards the doors, and they open right before you get there, which also scares the shit out of Stephanie. And it's the same part as the barrier test from the previous ride. You get going 65 miles an hour, you go around the curve, you go straight, you go fast as shit. Your picture's taken right away, which always makes you look like a fucking schmuck.
That's the worst photo.
It is. You always look like a fucking idiot in this picture, and unless you really, really concentrate.
I honestly think the worst photo is in
unnecessary.
Frozen.
I think the Pirates photo is worse than that, but
Yeah, that's pretty. No, Frozen. You're going backwards, I think.
No,
or
you're
just
going down the
starting
drop.
to-
It's
It's
the
so
drop
weird.
area. It's the second drop.
I don't remember. It just is a weird spot for it, and nobody was prepared for it.
I still think the Pirates ride, the Pirates picture is worse than the Frozen ride, or the Frozen picture. But that's here nor there. You could totally take that audio and make it sound like I just said that Frozen was better than Pirates.
I could,
But I didn't say
but I
that.
won't because nobody would believe me.
They still
Yeah.
wants the redhead.
I mean, I'm
Either way.
stupid, but not that stupid. So So then the ride comes to an end, and you can get your picture, and then, afterwards it's still the same things. You can go scan your band on the little rides and drive your car around the computer screen with a steering wheel, or, there's all those fucking vultures trying to sell you Chevrolets, and then you get popped out into the Chevrolet, the store, where you can buy your Man U kit.
You can get your little bitty test track driver's license.
You can.
That's a new thing.
The store is actually pretty cool. It's got a bunch of cars, merchandise.
I hate being dropped into a fucking gift shop.
Well, don't go to Disney.
I mean, I know it's
Don't
every
go to
ride,
Disney.
but I know.
Yeah,
Well, he
just
won't
kinda
because he's got to pay to park.
This is true.
We're looking
I'm
for
not
a
fucking
fifth,
buying
everybody.
anything.
But anyways, it's you know what? I do like the ride. I still will ride it as much as possible. It's a fun ride. I think the additions to this ride are just okay. Like it could have been done better.
They didn't really plus
And
it.
No, they didn't really plus it.
They just moved it, but they
They
didn't
minus
plus it.
It's not
They minus
better, but it is different.
I would say the after queue with all the interactive stuff that you do when you get off the ride, where you can take the same vehicle you just quote unquote raced on a track and theoretically drive in a virtual race around an augmented reality track against other people, and stuff like that. That may have
that
plussed
one-
it.
I think you can get a 3D printing of your car now, can't you?
Can you really?
I don't know.
I
But
think
if
so.
you can, they stole that shit from me about 30 episodes back
I'm almost positive you can get a 3D printing of your car. I think
with my.
it's not painted though.
That's my San Francisco Big Hero 6 Epcot shit right there when I was talking about getting a 3D printing of your BattleBot. So
I actually,
If
I
they
think
if
so.
they have that, I would
That check
definitely
in the
I would
mail,
definitely have
Disney.
that done for Ethan. I think he would love that.
I don't know. For me, honestly, this attraction used to be a must-do. Like, every time we went, and now it's fallen off.
now, was that before the change from World of Motion, or just the most recent update to Tron?
It was a must-do for World of Motion. It was a must-do for version 1. Tron is a skip.
Now,
I won't wait online for
if
it.
the track hasn't changed a whole lot, Adam, what about the Tron overlay do you dislike? Is it the queue, or is it the whole ride after the queue, or just everything?
It's pretty much the whole attraction, from the queue to all the Tron updates. It's just not as fun.
and I could be completely off base with that, Scott. I think that's a thing, but I could be totally
I know
wrong.
they had plans for that in the future to have the 3D printouts, but I don't know. I haven't been since April of 2017, so maybe in that time they have. But I don't remember seeing it there.
We'll look.
Well, when you guys go in May,
we can check. We'll be in May. I won't ride the ride, but we'll go.
They'll
can
go
walk
into
in
the
the gift
exit
shop,
queue,
Adam,
and
goddamn.
Tim can design his vehicle, and then they'll buy a printout.
Yeah,
of it.
I'll look for the vehicle. Exactly. He can print out his truck. I don't get the draw for this attraction. I don't get the reason for the wait time anymore.
Because there is nothing in Epcot that moves you like this does and gives you the feeling of being on a thrill ride. Everybody that gets
and
on...
this is why I remember having this conversation.
But the
before.
wait time's that long because you
this
get
is
so
where
long
Suck
to
My
design
Dick
that
came
fucking
from.
car.
It did, actually. Adam's quote from
Yeah.
episode 34, 33 or 34 was, I can drive 65 miles an hour on a highway, so suck my dick.
No,
Yeah,
but
that's where that came from.
that's
I knew I
fine
had this
because-
conversation before.
But imagine driving 65 on a highway in a freaking Google Earth car that you're not controlling. You're at the entire whim of that vehicle. That's the draw, because you don't have any input whatsoever on this vehicle that's on a
but it's
track.
also-
It's on a track.
It's
like
also,
the ride.
Mikey, that it's on a bank turn. You don't do bank turns on the highway. The bank turn is what gives you that G-force feeling of when you're going 65.
Am I fast passing this ride?
I'm defending the ride,
know.
Scott. Get off my nuts, man.
Trenton, I would still fast pass this ride.
I fast pass
I'm
on every
passing
time.
it because it's Epcot.
I don't think
what
it's
else you want
worth
to fast
it.
pass? Frozen?
Yeah,
Honest,
Frozen's
yeah.
fucking
Not when
great.
it's lightning, you're not.
Honestly, I would fast pass
I
Frozen
would-
on this.
see, I've
over
done
this,
Frozen.
hands down.
I didn't love it.
But I like the animatronics in Frozen. There's a story in Frozen. There's more to look at in Frozen. Granted, Frozen is not my favorite ride by a long shot, but I would take
I
Frozen
can
over.
sing my
story.
fucking heart out like an 8-year-old girl in Frozen.
I didn't fast pass this the 2 times we've ridden it because we just got there early and went straight to test track. We got it over and done with, and whoop.
One of the tips that I would give is monitor the weather. If it's raining and you know kind of when it's going to stop, get over to test track and you could be one of the first people on when it reopens.
And the other reason why I wouldn't fast pass this is because of what Trenton said. You fast pass it, the ride
they'll
breaks
give
down
you a
and
new
you're
fast
screwed.
pass for the day.
But you can't,
You can't do
Frozen.
Frozen, but I wouldn't I know you guys love Frozen. I just don't. It was okay.
It's not that I love it. It's just that I find it a better attraction than
Absolutely
I'll do the
bullshit. You
land
can't do
twice.
it after you can't do the same fucking level fast pass that you had.
Go
Which
ride
seems
Nemo.
like horse cockery to me.
Go horse cockery.
Well, because
That's a new one.
Trenton,
I never heard of
think
horse
of-
cockery.
Logistically, think of it this way: if everybody who had to get a fast pass substitute for this could do Frozen, they would, because I mean it's newer, and
it's not Disney's fault,
You've now
man.
then clogged up the fast pass system, so a fast pass should take between 25 and 30 minutes, is now going to be an hour at Frozen. The fast pass line would be an hour if they were to let you just take on Frozen. So go do Soarin'.
I'm just going to go ride Grand Fiesta.
I love
good.
Grand Fiesta.
I could do Sword at the end of the night with no wait for what we did it, Adam. We didn't have fast passes. We got there in 20 minutes,
Maybe 10
something
minutes.
Like
I think it was less than. It said 20, but I think
If you
we
go
got
during
through in 10.
Illuminations, you can get on it pretty easy.
that. No, this was at like this was like 10 minutes
This was
before the
late.
fucking park closed.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're that asshole.
This was one of my a little bit drunk
Oh,
decisions.
we were all drunk
We're
and we
gonna
had
go
already had
on
dinner.
tour.
Like we were just like waiting for them in the Ohana lobby, and they're like, "Let's go to fucking Epcot."
Well,
It's like, yeah, let's do that.
when Adam and
That sounds like a
when
great
Adam,
idea.
Tim, and I went to when we did when we met up with them that night, we did like it was Illuminations happened, and then we had like 20 minutes before the park actually ended up closing, and we did like ride.
Yeah.
Like we walked by Illuminations and said, you know what, let's screw it. We've seen Illuminations already this week. Let's go do some rides.
Do we think Ratatouille is going to be Tier 1
Yes.
Fast Pass? Are they going to take one of the Tier
They'll
1s
take
off
Test
now?
Track off there, I think.
I think they take Soarin' off.
Probably.
Do they start Ratatouille when the park opens, or do you have to wait?
No,
until after
no,
11?
it'll open
it's
because
in-
you can go to France for breakfast. France is open for.
So's Norway.
There's a few now that are open for breakfast.
Norway also. You can go to
Yes.
France for breakfast. They have not chefs or Monsieur Paul, but the boulangerie is open for breakfast.
Anybody else want a German breakfast?
Does it
Yeah.
consist of beer?
It's okay. At Beer Garden, you give me a German breakfast. I mean, it's going to be the same thing at the dinner, I'm sure. A lot of potatoes, a lot of sausage, and beer.
You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
Okay.
Hey,
Shit.
Mikey, do you want to tell us about the GM Lounge at Test
Right.
Track?
So
What the hell
so
is
there
that?
is one other part of Test Track that very few people get to go to because it is hidden. It is hidden from anyone who is not a GM employee or a guest of a GM employee. We do, however, have two people on the show tonight who have gone to the GM Test Track Lounge. So, Mikey, why don't you tell us about your experience there?
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right, because most everybody sees the Test Track like the bottom two-ish stories, I would say. Last year in August, I got the glorious privilege of meeting the GM manager of Test Track, a guy named Mike. It could be Romeo or Romeo. I guess if you're classy, it's probably Romeo. Super nice guy. Holy cow. But he is the manager for Test Track for GM. I remember when I talked to him, asked him how he got this job. He basically said that Orlando is the farthest away from any other GM facility, so he basically annoyed his superiors to the point where they just moved him as far away as possible. And that ended up being...
Wait, so that's a job to just manage a fucking ride in
So he is the employee for GM that manages over the GM portion of Test Track.
That's what I'm saying. What the fuck does he do? Sit there and go, "Yep, the ride's going."
Mike was actually part of the Disney College program back in the late 80s, so his Disney roots kind of go pretty deep. He's been around there for a while. And as has been mentioned with Adam and with Trenton, GM, which is the parent company of Chevrolet, has had a strong partnership with Disney throughout this entire ride, pretty much. You know, to get to the test track, the VIP lounge, I guess, whatever they call it, GM lounge, it's a very simple and nondescript entrance that's off to the side of the attraction. Don't go to the left side. You may encounter a confused cast member who waves you on through because it's your first day, and you walk to the back end, and you are
Backstage.
in the middle of a whole bunch of bullshit that you don't have any business walking into. But the gate was ajar, and she said, "Yeah, this is where you go." And she just keeps on trucking like, "I don't fucking know." And you're walking around like, "Oh no, I got no business being back here." This is like behind the curtain that you go behind when you go behind the curtain. Okay, this is where the jizz moppers work in the.
So this is like This is like that backstage video where you see all the characters like Goofy and Minnie, and they're just like dry humping like in the hallway. Is that this area?
I didn't see that.
Look that up on YouTube, by the way, guys.
I probably won't. It was unkempt, is how I'll put it. But if you go to the correct side, it's just a very simple door where the employees that work there go to. And it's more than just the guy that is, quote-unquote, the manager and his secretary. They have a full GM staff that handles up in the VIP lounge. And like Scott said, if you're a GM employee or a guest or a VIP, you can get up there. It's one of the last, I guess, remaining conference centers that are actually in a park. Is that?
Yeah,
right
it's got a conference room.
Yeah, it's got so it's not like you can't really like go to Magic Kingdom with a business group of 100 people and have a spot to seat them and have an actual meeting and conference. The GM lounge actually has a full-blown conference room with teleconference equipment. It's got like I think 3 short throw projectors suspended from the ceiling for your presentations. It's very nice. It's very state of the art, which is what you would expect. I don't know how often it gets used, but it is. If you know, I don't know what people in the Three Sheets Nation do, but if you're looking for a place to have a conference, shit, fucking go to Epcot. Talk to Mike Romeo. You know, I got the tour, and I'll be honest, I was trying to take pictures of shit on the tour, and so I was less listening to what I was being told. I do know that it has, in my opinion, the best view in all of Epcot from the VIP lounge, because the whole front wall, which you see it from the attraction, but you don't pay attention of it. You know, when you're waiting to go in there, if you look up, you just see this wall of mirrors. Those are windows that look directly out on Spaceship Earth. And it is just awe-inspiring to look out there and see that. Now, when I went to it, it was right after Hurricane Irma, so they had actually pulled all of the fabric from the awnings and coverings that cover the queue line area right out front, so there was almost nothing to impede the view of Spaceship Earth, save a few, steel tubing skeleton, I guess, that would have held the fabric up. But it was just so amazing just to look out there and think that all day long the secretary can just look over her right shoulder and just stare at that, and probably takes for granted, probably calls it a golf ball. But it's also one of the few places outside of like the Epcot Cool Spot where the Coca-Cola little Beverly station is. It's got a full soda fountain up there. They got coffee, and they've got sweet and unsweetened tea, and I think lemonade. But if you're looking at having a conference or something like that, they have their own soda fountain right outside the conference room.
See, now
so you don't have to cater
the
any
lounge above
beverages in.
The Imagination Pavilion has that same thing, though, does it not?
It does.
Well, that's not a corporate.
No.
lounge.
But I'm just saying it has the soda machine and the coffee.
Yeah,
and
and the
shit.
Chase Lounge had it too.
See, where was the Chase Lounge? I have a Chase card. I've
You
never
won't
heard of
have
a
it
Chase
anymore
Lounge.
because that's going to be the new Club 33.
It's gone.
You know what? You
And
can
it was
go to
only
Hollywood
open during
Studios
Food
and get
and
the
Wine.
park.
Fuck
You can see
me.
Kylo Ren twice.
Sorry, Mikey.
That's
Continue.
just my experience. Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I showed up and I had just had lunch, but I was like, yeah, I'll take some tea. And then, they're giving the tour, and we walked past it again, and I refilled my cup. And listen, when it's at Disney and you get a drink for free, you fucking do it. Okay, every time I passed that thing, I was filling my cup with something. I think I even finished off with some coffee. I didn't even care. But it's it's one of those things that you wouldn't expect to see just this soda fountain. It's kind of sitting like out in the open. It's not in a break room. It's just like right there. So if you're going up there to hang out in the VIP lounge and you're chilling back on the swanky furniture they got, fill up your little 6-ounce paper cup from Coca-Cola with as much as you can drink. Speaking of the furniture, it is very tastefully decorated. It's very modern. I'm not a big modern guy, but it kind of had this Jetsons thing going on, I guess. Is that right, Adam? I mean, you've been there, so you saw that part, right?
We didn't get we didn't get the full tour because the guy, Mr. Romeo or Romeo, however you say it, wasn't there when we went, but we were able to hang out in the lounge area pretty much, and we saw into the conference room because the door was open. But yeah, it's a very modern, very almost borderline sterile.
Yeah. It's like
kind
it's
of
furniture
feeling.
that it's there for decoration, but don't sit on it.
Yes, that's exactly
I came back
it.
from
We kind of
Houston.
stood.
My wife has like 4 towels in the kitchen that I can't use. They're there for decoration.
Sit.
I wash my hands. I'm going to grab the nearest terry cloth I can find, honey. I love you. I will wash them, but if you don't want someone to use them, don't hang them up beside the stove.
I might put my
Anyway,
mouth on it if it's there. I don't care.
exactly. Now, one of the really cool things that really hit home with me, because I've got 3 kids, is there's one projector that adorns one wall, and it just basically scrolls through this slideshow featuring hand-drawn artwork by children of Imagineers and other GM families and stuff like that. When they were redoing this ride, they were like, what's the car of the future look to you, or what's this mean to you with regards to the cars and stuff. So these kids drew it out like freaking with Crayolas and with a sheet of paper, and they took all this artwork and they just have it on this loop showing on the wall. So you would expect to see all this crazy futuristic concept car artwork, but no, they're showing stuff just drawn with a crayon and paper on the wall, and that meant more to me than if I'd have looked up and seen what GM had in mind for 2020. That tells you where transportation and a world in motion has moved in the eyes of a child. That really spoke volumes to me. And Romeo told me he's in charge of what goes in that. He can do whatever he wants to with that, and he made that decision. I want these drawings from these kids who didn't know that it was going to be used for that. They got them scanned in, and that's what runs on a loop, and that is really, 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 really
cool.
awesome. That's Disney at its core, right there. That's why he's the GM manager, Trenton, because that fucking decision.
Yeah, tough calls here.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, hang out. Hey, the ride's going. Let me go get a soda from the soda fountain. Yeah, this sounds like a really tough.
Well, I mean,
tough gig.
He's got a lot going on, okay? Because he's in charge of all the
Might rain
personnel,
some days? Who fuck knows?
which you say, you talk about those guys at the exit when you leave who are trying to hawk you cars. They're not salespeople. They wear a Disney cast member name tag, but they work for GM, and Mike Romeo has to make sure they walk that line of being reputable to GM, but also still delivering a Disney experience. Okay? That whole showroom area as you exit the ride, as he was describing to me, it made perfect sense. those aren't fancy supercars in that room.
They're expensive.
Those are the same
as fuck.
cars. Those are the same cars you walked through in the parking lot if you drove to Epcot. You walked past at least 3 of those exact same cars just trying to get to the damn tram. But you walked right past them and didn't pay them a second glance. They've got your attention here, and people go by and they stop and they look. And yes, they do establish a rapport with you and get your information if you're interested. They are not there to pressure you or force you to make a purchase. They don't get a commission off anything. They're simply there to give you knowledge, make a conversation, and open up that line of communication between you and a dealer in your area.
Well, that's weird because I gave that bitch my email and I get fucking emails every week.
You gave them your email.
Yeah.
You gave them your email.
I felt a little pressured, to be honest with you.
She's not sending you those emails.
Well, somebody is, and she definitely would not leave me the fuck alone until I did it.
Maybe you're the kind of guy she likes. You know, a little rough around the edges and soft nougaty center, like a Milky Way. So Romeo has to blend those two things together, so you don't feel assaulted, but at the same time he has to still stay true to GM, because he's trying. He keeps his job if they get enough feedback. And talking to him, there is a trade-off on the amount of callbacks that GM receives as a direct result of guests leaving this attraction, and it has been profitable for GM, and that's why the sponsorship continues with these vehicles. And speaking of these vehicles, the cars you see in the showroom, they're actually rotated out about every 3 weeks, is what he told me. Because you can imagine, as many people that go through that attraction, you're talking about tens of thousands of hands opening and closing those doors from open to close at Epcot. Okay, asses in seats, people grabbing steering wheels. That does produce quite a bit of wear and tear on that vehicle. So they get rotated out about every 3 weeks, and when they get rotated out, they actually go to that staging area that you see when the car makes the big loop and you look down and see all those GM or Chevrolet vehicles. Those are vehicles waiting to be picked up on a trailer and taken to a used car dealership where they'll be sold at a
Cool.
discount.
See, that's where I would buy it, because I ain't buying that shit new.
The only exception to this rule is that super fancy Corvette that's always like front and center that you have to walk past, that's lit up and looks swanky. That's the only car they keep locked up.
Yeah, I wanted to go open that door and sit inside it. But
Now, next time you go there, look at the size of that car and then look at the single hallway they have to drive it through, and then look back at the car again and look at the hallway it comes through, okay? Mike Romeo drives that car in himself when it gets put on display.
Shit, that's the hardest thing he does in his whole job.
that's why he keeps it.
He has 3/4 of an inch clearance on either side.
Unless those wing mirrors fold inwards, and they don't, that's got to be terrifying.
It is 3/4 of an inch is
never
what
wanna
he
do
has on each side when he backs that sucker in. It sits there for like 6 to 8 weeks before it gets changed out.
Why does he have to back it in?
Because it's facing the exit. I mean, it's facing the way it comes in. Unless you want to do a 20-point turn to get it turned back around. You want to back it straight in so you can pull it straight the hell back out. So yeah, my question was, are all these cars, like legit cars? Have they got like real engines and stuff? Because I figured they were just like, the bodies with like fiberglass insides and they bring them in on a pallet jack or some shit. But no, they're all... Every vehicle you walk past as you exit is an actual.
No, I've seen them open. I've seen them open the engine compartments before. No, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always walk right past all that shit and go to the exit because I got to hurry up and get to Maelstrom.
But now you don't have to do that anymore.
But I don't have to do that anymore at all. And real quick, a little bit of trivia on the actual ride vehicle. This Ford Probe by GM ride vehicle, as I think Scott described
Pontiac
it.
Grand Prix.
You mentioned they go through a lot of tires. That's the one question I had for Mike is, Mike, honestly, how many tires you go through? in this, and he couldn't give me an exact number because
It's
it's
a
a
lot.
lot. We actually got I got to go out behind the attraction. I got to go to the maintenance area, and I got to walk in there, and where they have you can't go past this line because they're doing work, and they were doing work. They had a vehicle up they were working on, but it was just like wall-to-wall rubber tires. Just that's like all you saw, and that's probably the bulk of their maintenance is just swapping them tires out. And the way they do this is they leave the car attached to the track because, like you said, it's like a slot car. So it stays hooked underneath that track, and they're able to drag it back there on a lift system. And then they're able to take all that off and then put it right back in line with the rest of the vehicles, so they never have to actually take it off of a track. It stays hooked up the whole time. And the track that it's attached to, that the whole ride is made out of, because it does go outside in the weather, not when it's lightning, but even if the track is damp, and those tires don't give a whole lot of traction. They do give some traction. That track is made out of the same material that an aircraft carrier's landing deck
Really?
is made out of.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yep, it's made out of the same kind of material. What's funny is if you look at it, it's painted up with those hash marks, I guess, every so many feet that you would use to calculate an object's speed. If you've watched Mythbusters, you know exactly what I'm
Yes.
talking about. So yeah, those lines don't act. I mean, they don't have any type of camera checking that. It's just there for show. I was kind of disappointed because I thought when it shows you your speed at the end of the ride, it would have been calculated by when you passed those lines, But no, it's just they're just there for show.
That speed, the speedometer, the speed thing where it shows how fast you're going is not actually how fast you're going. The highest you can go is 64.9 miles an hour.
You can get a good look at those hash marks and stuff if you're in the VIP lounge. You walk up to the big bank of windows and look straight down, and you see pretty much like the apex of that turn as it goes around the attraction. You can look straight down and watch those cars go zipping by, hitting that turn like crazy. And that's pretty cool too. So from that lounge, you can not only see Spaceship Earth in its majesty. If you look down, you get to see everybody in the car go zipping by, having a hell of a time. Really, that's about all I got for the test track. I will say that speaking with Mike Romeo, I do want to just plug him as much as I can. He was about as humble a guy as I'd ever met. He's worked for GM for a long time, and he went into great detail. And this is important to me personally. He went into great detail about GM and how huge it is with the Make-A-Wish charity regarding kids going to Disney World, and how much the Give Kids the World Foundation gets with the help of GM and stuff like that down there to host Make-A-Wish families while they're visiting not just Disney, but also like SeaWorld and Universal and stuff like that. I think when I was talking to him, he probably spent 20 minutes just talking about Make-A-Wish and how impactful that has been with him working with GM and at Disney World and stuff like that. And I did get a chance to go through the super secret VIP door to get on the ride that the Make-A-Wish kids would get to go on, to sneak to the front of the line and bypass the entire Fast Pass system, which means I got to make my own car and bypass everything downstairs because they got a car building kiosk up in the VIP lounge. So whereas everybody else was trying to make their car the fastest, I went the other way, and I made the 3 Sheets to Mouse clown car, and I tried to make it as inefficient as possible. And I managed to come in dead last in every one of the scenarios.
Did it look like shit too?
It had a wheelbase of maybe 6 feet. I put as much stuff on it. It looked like it came out of East LA. It was quite a thing.
Did you take a picture of it?
Somewhere I do have a picture of this pink beast.
Well, make sure.
I'll have to dig through some of my photographs. But yeah, I did take a picture of it. It's ugly as hell. It's like if you took like a smart car and then grabbed every aftermarket fiberglass add-on you could hang off of it and threw it on there, and then decided, I want the biggest engine I can get in it, and it's going to run on plutonium.
Well, make sure you post the group of photos from the GM Lounge that you took, along with that.
I think I've got like 3 photos. I was drinking a lot of free soda, I'll be honest with you. Now, I do want to say, though, I did this entire tour wearing a pair of LuLaRoe leggings. So that's how I represented Three Sheets Nation in my wife's pants.
Did Mike Romeo say anything about your pants? Or lack thereof?
He did. He and that's what brought up the whole Make-A-Wish thing, is that he was definitely hip to what was going on. He was left with some Three Sheets to the Mouse gift package, with a coffee mug and a sticker, and he's so he knows what we're about.
Good. We're slowly infiltrating.
I don't think we have to be slow about it anymore. They listen to the show. They give us Party Source
That's
Rex.
true.
They give us anything else we talk about. Short of the Baymax or the Big Hero 6 attractions, which
Seriously.
shame on you, Disney, for not doing anything with that yet. Shame on you. Not even overseas. Shame on you.
It'll happen like every other attraction that comes from an IP 10 years too late.
Well, they just started the cartoon for Big Hero 6, I want to say.
Yeah,
Just
it
launched.
started in January. It's fun. I've watched one
It's cute.
episode. Ethan has fallen off the Big Hero 6 thing right now. He's big into
Cars.
well, he's always into cars, but he's really big into
Golf.
what?
Golf.
Yeah, well, we watched a
Golf.
little bit of the Bay Hill today, which is in Orlando.
I bet you did.
But he's really big into making the Roadster racers and puppy dog pals. But Mikey, no, thank you for the insight to the GM Lounge. It's really cool. Adam, do you have anything to add? Because you did get to go inside.
Yeah, we didn't really see quite as much, so we just kind of hung out in that basic area with the soda fountain and all that. So that was really it.
Oh shit! I got something else. Oh my god! This is like the most important part.
Yes.
We got to go back in like their break room, which doesn't sound like important at all. First off, it was cool because when they redecorated the main GM Lounge, all of the furniture they were throwing out, they decided, yeah, we'll take this and put it in our break room. So their break room is even decorated like a modern VIP setting.
Nice.
But hanging on, oh my god, Adam, I wish you could have seen this. Hanging on the walls in the break room are some of the original photographs from the GM attraction and ride and shit like that.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
And also just some of the original stuff from Epcot, like from original parades and stuff like that from the 80s.
Ooh.
It was...
that would have been awesome to see.
Oh,
again.
and they're huge poster-size pictures, and they're framed, they're hanging up on the walls. And I remember seeing that thinking, it goes right back to how Mike Romeo was a college program cast member in the late 80s. So his tie to Disney goes all the way back that far. And when Disney was going to throw this shit out, they said, no, let's put it in our break room. And that's where it's hanging. And it's really, really, really awesome to walk in there and see Disney Epcot history all the way around you. It was really
That
awesome.
was cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool, actually.
It really was. I mean, it's like this whole thing about how the track works and all is great, but damn, can I take that home? No. Okay, I'll just go upstairs and get another lemonade.
But no, Mikey, thank you for that. We really it gives us a nice insight to those who don't get to see something like this every day, and to share something exclusive. I really appreciate that. So, if you could have any of the 3 versions of this attraction back, Mikey, what would you choose? Knowing what you've heard about the other 2, what would you choose?
I got to ask Adam a question. All these different, I'm going to call them vignettes that you got to see during World of Motion. Were they static, or were they like the old animatronic style animatronics, like Pirates of the Caribbean style animatronics, or Spaceship Earth style?
They were Spaceship Earth style. They were the Spaceship Earth animatronics.
Yeah.
They were built around the same time.
Yeah, I want to see that. As long as they weren't just completely static. If there was something to make me to take me into what I was seeing, yeah. I mean, I get why Disney did this, because they wanted something a little more thrilling, a little edgy. Because at this time, I think Universal was on, coming up down there. So I get why they went this route. But I mean, I'm just that kind of guy that give me an Omnimover and something to captivate my imagination, and I'm going to be just as excited to go ride it again. That's like people that ride Spaceship Earth that have ridden it before. They're not riding it because it's exhilarating, because it's not. They're riding it because it hits something inside of them. And what Adam described to me, I would have enjoyed, even right down to the world's, the first traffic jam, just picking out all the interesting things in that scenario. But everything else that he talked about, man, stagecoaches, God, yes, give me that. I think that's why I like the Live with the Land so much, is because it fits right in with the rest of all that old. One of these days, I'll get a chance to sit down and I'll watch that.
The Martins vid?
Probably not. No. When I'm at Disney, I need to make a concerted effort to go see Carousel of Progress.
Wait, what? No. What did Mikey say?
I need to make a concerted effort to see Carousel of Progress.
You've never been
Okay,
to Carousel
so
of Progress?
if you are interested in
No, I
joining
haven't.
the Three Sheets team and want to apply, send your email.
Say what you will, but
Give
it's
up.
not something that's going to interest anybody else in my family.
Oh, dude, you got to do that.
Yes, that's fucking ridiculous.
Mikey.
It's
Give up. Nothing to say here.
No, it's not that I don't want to. I have wanted to every time, but it's just not been able to get worked in. I still want to ride the People Mover. We've tried for 2 trips to ride the People Mover.
What?
The first trip we couldn't find the fucking entrance.
You
and
never
the
the
second
People
one
Mover
was
either?
broke
I'm going to
down.
have a stroke.
Give up.
I have done Stitch twice.
Oh, that makes it fucking worse.
Mind blown.
I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm.
I don't
So,
have
Trenton,
anything to say.
if you could pick one of the 3, what would you pick?
I'm going to go original. I think I said this at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to go original test track.
I'm going to join with that one. I love the original Test Track. So educational, so entertaining. I miss it.
Original Test Track or World of Motion?
No, original Test Track.
Original test track.
Okay.
The 90... It was like 98 to 2012.
Yeah, 1998 to 2012.
I can tell you
No,
right
it did not. It did not open until March.
No, it closed.
It was
before
99 to
that.
2012.
Yeah, it didn't open until March of 1999. It was soft testing in December of '98.
So how could it close in 2012?
It
Wait.
opened in it closed in 2012. So it closed in the beginning of 2012. January 6th it closed, or they announced on January 6th. They did the changeover in the summer, and it opened in December 6th
Yeah.
of 2012.
The changeover
was
only
late,
took
that's
like
right.
Which
8
is
months.
interesting because Tron was out in 2010.
Well, Tron was
It's
supposed
not
to do better. There's a whole
actually based
rumor
on
behind
Tron,
that too.
Mikey.
Well, no, it was themed around Tron. It was
No,
supposed to.
there was a very big rumor. It was
And
supposed
Tron
to be
Legacy
based on
bombed.
Tron.
Hard.
I thought it was a fantastic film. I enjoyed it. Boston to this day loves the hell out of
Jeff
it.
Bridges is a badass motherfucker too.
He really is, and I'll take some Olivia Wilde. I don't know who the hell that was, like a wannabe Captain America that played his son.
Yeah. So Adam, what would you choose for the 3?
I'm still
I
choosing
figured
World of
that.
Motion. Yes.
And then he wants to
'Cause I
bring
said it
back
already.
Horizons 2.
So I guess I'll have to post a poll
No.
so the Three Sheets Nation can decide what they would prefer.
Absolutely. And if you want to find that poll, head over to Three Sheets, our Facebook group at www.facebook.com/group/Three Sheets, and you can check out our group. Become part of the Three Sheets Nation. We have a couple of questions that you need to answer in order to be let in. If you invite people, make sure they know to answer the questions too. Just, send your friend a text saying, "Hey man, I shanghaied you into the Three Sheets Nation." Make sure you answer the questions so we know that they want to be a part of it. Yeah. Head over to Facebook at facebook.com/group/Three Sheets. Check us out over there. Become part of the Three Sheets Nation. It's a lot of fun. I think we broke the internet this weekend with the St. Patrick's Day drinks.
Scott, would you call it a hoot?
It's a hoot and a holler.
It's a hoot.
Nanny.
It's a hoot and a holler. Yeah, I went that big. But if you also want to follow us on other media, we do have Instagram and Twitter. That's at 3 Sheets Podcast, the handle over there. Check us out. Come interact with us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's all fun. If you love the show, go over to iTunes. We'd love to have a rate and review. It's the best way for other Disney fans like yourselves to find the show. It helps put us on the search map. It helps people find the show through that way. So make sure you do that. Other than that, Trenton, give me some closing remarks tonight.
Hey, I actually wanted to thank Michael Fernandez for doing the drink brackets.
Oh yeah,
that's a fun idea.
He's been doing Drunk Madness this week.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I'm glad he's doing it. I wanted to thank him personally on the show. That's really cool. It's a really cool idea.
Some very surprising upsets that Knob Creek almost didn't make it out of the first round.
It's just whiskey, though.
It's good.
It's not any different than you can get anywhere else.
Well, you can't get the Disney whiskey there.
It's the same shit.
No, it's not. Shh.
This is where we need Tim.
It probably is the same stuff, but we just like to make it matter.
So that was my closing remarks. Once again,
it tastes the same.
Go give us an iTunes review. We'll read it on the air, and you'll get to know that we read it on the air.
Like Brant Burks.
Yeah.
Brant Burke gave us a lovely...
Let's be fair, though. His review asked for more of him to be on the show.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah,
that's like telling people to ask you... that's like asking people to sing Happy Birthday to you.
At Chili's.
It's my birthday. Give me a free sundae.
Adam, give me some closing remarks tonight.
All right. As y'all know, I'm sick, and I feel like I'm getting sicker by the minute. Just wanted to let everybody know the meetups are planned and scheduled. They are on the Facebook group. It wouldn't allow me to invite the whole group. So if you guys are interested in the meetups and want to be part of the invite list, just give us a shout either on the Facebook page or direct message one of us. Any one of the admins are able to invite to the events. They're all posted. There are a few that we do need to make reservations for. So please, if you are thinking about it and you want us to hold a spot for those reservations, we need to know sooner rather than later. And that's really it. Good night. Right. I'm going to bed.
Mikey.
I'm glad to be back. I know I missed last week, and I'm back home. I'm no longer in Texas. I'm in my garage. It's good to be back with the family and stuff like that. Thanks to everybody in the group who followed along with me while I was stuck in Texas, that sent me care packages, that just sent me emails, that sent me messages. Huge shout out to Sheeter Adam Austin, who was there when I needed someone just to vent to. Thank you so much. Now that I'm back home, I can vent to my wife, for what that's worth. But everybody, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll get back to having all 5 of us on here at a regular time. Oh, and listen, if you're interested, pay attention to in the group, because we will have another 3 Sheets game night coming up pretty soon once I check everybody's schedule to see when we can play, and we may play something kind of new that is definitely guaranteed to get us in trouble with HR.
We don't have HR anymore.
Oh, well then if it's just anarchy, then fuck it. Let's this will be like Under the Bed from the old 90s movie Little Monsters with Howie Mandel and the Fred Savage.
We took control and we fired HR long ago.
Okay. Also go to the magicalmeltdown.com, buy shit.
That's true. Do that. So from all of us here at 3 Sheets to the Mouse, thank you for making our show part of your Disney life. Thank you for your time, this time, and until next time, so long for just a while.